Traveling is a means to success. Do subscribe Travel and Taste channel and like videos. For further videos, stay connected. Top magical sites in Europe you shouldn't miss. Planning a holiday to Europe? Whether you're craving a city break, a few days of adventure, or a total escape into nature, we've got you covered. Here are 50 of the best places to visit in Europe for interesting visits. Roman Forum, Rome, Italy. What sets these ruins apart from the plethora of ancient wonders on practically every corner in Rome? Firstly, their age. The oldest structures date back more than 2 millennia. Secondly, the way these excavated temples and arches are clustered together makes it easy to imagine how grand the complex was when the Roman Empire ruled. Old Town, Dubrovnik, Croatia. Known as the Pearl of the Adriatic, Dubrovnik's entire Old Town is UNESCO World Heritage listed, and its steep cobbled streets, baroque palaces and marble-paved squares are among the prettiest in Europe. Despite a devastating earthquake in 1667 and artillery damage in 1991, the city prevailed, and even found fame as King's Landing in Game of Thrones. Alhambra Palace, Granada, Spain. Alhambra was built by Mohammed ben al-Ahmar in the mid-13th century, before Ferdinand and Isabella expelled the Moors from Granada in 1492. Successive rulers added to the palace, adhering to a paradise-on-earth architectural philosophy. Wander through tranquil courtyards to the sound of nightingales and trickling water, the perfume of roses filling the air. Westminster Abbey, London, England. It's difficult to fathom all the events Westminster Abbey has borne witness to since the 13th century, and to comprehend the entities entombed in its walls, floors and sarcophagi. Pay homage to its inhabitants, Mary Queen of Scots and her executioner, Elizabeth I, rest uneasily close. Dickens and Chaucer are in Poets' Corner, and Stephen Hawking was laid near Isaac Newton. Colosseum, Rome, Italy. The Flavian Amphitheatre doesn't quite have the same ring. Along with its original moniker, the Colosseum changed its purpose constantly throughout its 2,000 years. Variously a gladiator battlefield, cemetery, church and simple storehouse, it's now the most visited attraction in Rome. Book a timed entry in advance to spend as much time as possible soaking it in. The Palace of Versailles, Versailles, France. Utter the immortal words, "Let them eat cake," as you prance through the Hall of Mirrors or explore the Marie Antoinette's private retreat. Versailles was the principal royal residence until the French Revolution, when it was stripped of its furnishings and its inhabitants of their heads. Much has now been restored to its former glory. Eiffel Tower, Paris, France. The gardens beneath the storied steel structure are set to be transformed, making a visit to this icon even more beautiful. A green corridor will run from Place du Trocadero to the Champ de Mars by the 2024 Olympic Games, providing plenty of space for travelers to stretch out on the grass and appreciate the monument. Parthenon, Athens, Greece. Dominating the Acropolis and indeed the modern skyline is the Parthenon, completed in 438 BC and enduring as a symbol of ancient Greek civilization. Standing at the foot of the Acropolis, visitors can glimpse the blue Athenian sky through the Parthenon's Doric columns, a majestic sight that would have been just as arresting eons ago. Stonehenge, England. Stop at Stonehenge as part of a day trip from London to Bath and get the part of your mind dedicated to conspiracy theories working. How did the standing stones get there? Did ancient man really transport them more than 250 kilometers from their original location? Are glacial movements responsible? Aliens? Magic? You decide. Neuschwanstein Castle, Fussen, Germany. No visit to Europe is complete without seeing a castle. So, why not make it the most famous castle in the world? The inspiration for Disney's logo truly does look like something out of a fairy tale, but its history is far from medieval. It was built in the late 19th century for a king who died before its completion. Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy. If you don't have a photo of yourself awkwardly propping up this slanted pile, have you even really been to Italy? Fun photo ops aside, the view of the Arno River and surrounding countryside after ascending the almost 300 marble steps to the top of the tower is stunning. St. Basil's Cathedral, Moscow, Russia. The lolly-looking spires make this place of worship one of the most recognizable buildings in all of Russia. But the interior is just as stunning. Its walls are adorned with more than 400 beautifully painted religious icons. Trevi Fountain, Rome, Italy. Some say it's the most beautiful fountain in Rome, others maintain throwing coins into the bubbling waters will ensure, among other things, a return to the eternal city. But what truly makes the Trevi Fountain stand out is that its grandeur is a surprise after rounding the corner from otherwise nondescript streets. Notre Dame, Paris, France. Plans to restore the roof of Notre Dame following the devastating fire in April 2019 are underway, and though the interior of the cathedral is temporarily closed, it's expected to reopen its doors in December 2024. You can still admire the remaining facade from afar. St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican City. Even if you're not religious, the staggering scale of the home of Catholicism and the chance to appreciate some of the greatest artworks ever created is reason enough to pay this spiritual site a visit. Take in St. Peter's Square and Basilica, and, of course, Michelangelo's masterpiece, the intricate ceiling in the world at the Sistine Chapel. Grand Canal, Venice, Italy. This king of canals splits the city in two for almost 4 kilometers. It's the reason you come to so many dead ends as you zigzag through Venice's back streets. But there are plenty of bridges to trip across that offer vastly different views of the bustle on and alongside the waterway. Windmills of Mykonos, Greece. Whitewashed windmills are as iconic in Mykonos as the powerfully blue Aegean. Visit Chironomus Mill, the oldest of Mykonos's windmills, which was producing flour up until the 1960s and still has intact inner workings. Others have been converted into guest houses, so it's possible to stay in these picturesque reminders of the past. Louvre, Paris, France. Know this, the Mona Lisa is smaller than you anticipate. But the Louvre itself, the palace and the glass pyramid, and the 34,999 other artworks on display within will more than make up for it. Cinque Terre, Italy. Though not as untouched as they were in the decades before their charm was discovered by travelers, the multicolored villages of Cinque Terre really are as picturesque as they seem in the pictures. Visit after summer, when the walking trail that snakes between the towns calms down. Northern Lights, Iceland. Luck plays a big part in whether you get a mere glimmer of green in the night sky or an all-out spectacle of dancing emerald, pink and yellow lights. Maximize your chances by visiting between September and April and venture out on a clear night with no full moon. The aurora forecast can guide you. Brandenburg Gate, Berlin, Germany. Once a symbol of Germany's division, the Brandenburg Gate is now a beloved marker of its reunification. It serves as the backdrop for scores of important events, including the Berlin Marathon, public viewings of make-or-break football matches and New Year's Eve fireworks. This is where to go to get a taste of local life. Buckingham Palace, London, England. You can marvel at the facade of the palace any time of year, but you'll only be permitted inside its hallowed staterooms from June to August, while guided tours are available on select dates through winter and spring. Arc de Triomphe, Paris, France. The joy of this attraction lies not in gazing up at it from the ground but from ascending to the top. No less than 12 different roads spin out like a pinwheel from the central point, and watching cars, trucks and brave cyclists maneuver to their desired exit is endlessly, and heart-stoppingly, entertaining. Astronomical Clock, Prague, Czech Republic. plan to spend a while admiring this whimsical piece of medieval history. On the hour, every hour, apostle figures appear at the windows that surround it, death beckons, a man refuses and a rooster crows. Its dials also track the position of the sun and moon, bohemian time daybreak and sunset, and the path of the zodiac. Sagrada Familia, Barcelona, Spain. Sagrada Familia has been a work in progress for more than 135 years. Start on the Gaudi design side, opposite Plaça de Gaudi, and make your way around the church to its opposite edge to see the architecture slowly give way to a more modern style. Reichstag, Berlin, Germany. If politics is your thing, this building has stood sentinel over all the key moments in the country's tumultuous history, and still bears marks from some of them. If living history isn't your idea of a good time, it's still worth a visit. The panoramic view over Berlin from the rooftop is second to none. Pina Palace, Sintra, Portugal. Not far from the bustle of Lisbon is the picturesque, UNESCO World Heritage listed resort town of Sintra, nestled into the foothills of the Sintra Mountains on the Portuguese Riviera. Generations of royals used it as a summertime escape, as evidenced by its three magnificent palaces including the fairy tale Pina Palace and the ancient castle of the Moors. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. Presiding over the city from Castle Rock, this fortress has been involved in some of Scotland's most fraught conflicts. The oldest surviving building in the grounds, St. Margaret's Chapel, has stood for almost 900 years, but the volcanic rock on which it's built had been used by Celtic tribes for millennia prior to that. Big Ben, Elizabeth Tower, London, England. If a film opens with a black cab cruising past Big Ben, you know you're in London. Wander past the Houses of Parliament, gaze upon the tower and listen to its familiar toll, though it won't sound again until 2021 due to restoration work. The famously reliable clock has only stopped a few times since 1859, once, due to a flock of starlings on the minute hand. Belém Tower, Lisbon, Portugal. On the shores of the Tagus River, this 16th century fortress is all fenestrations and battlements, executed in the florid Manueline style. Head up to the rooftop terrace to watch the sunset over the river, then wander to the namesake neighborhood's Pastéis de Belém for Lisbon's second sweetest sight, Portuguese tarts. Vienna State Opera, Vienna, Austria. Mozart, Mahler, Haydn, they're just a few of the reasons Austria is one of the best places in the world to see live classical music. The Vienna State Opera, Wiener Staatsoper, building itself is so gilded and opulent that it can be hard to keep your eyes on the action on stage. Arthur's Seat, Edinburgh, Scotland. Myths abound about this extinct volcano's name and its history. Some say its moniker is a nod to King Arthur, others argue over whether it was the home of a giant or a sleeping dragon. These rocky bluffs are visible towering above the city from almost any point in Edinburgh. Ascend the peak when you first arrive to get your bearings. Tower of London, England. Spread over almost 5 hectares in central London, the tower was originally a castle. It's been an armory, menagerie and the Royal Mint, but, most infamously, a prison. Since 1100, it's held the likes of Anne Boleyn, beheaded in 1536, and the Cray twins, the last, in 1952. Visitors beware, it is, of course, haunted. Florence Cathedral, Italy. Known as the Duomo, this cathedral is the most recognizable building in Florence, and its cupola the largest brick dome ever constructed. The first stone was laid in 1296 and much has occurred since. For example, in 1478, the Pazzi family attempted to displace the ruling Medicis, murdering Giuliano de' Medici and injuring his brother Lorenzo during High Mass. Schönbrunn Palace, Vienna, Austria. The powerful Habsburgs ruled, at times, over almost every major kingdom in Europe from the 11th to the 19th century. Schönbrunn Palace was their summer residence, an opulent 1,441-room Rococo pile that took its current form during the 1740s. Explore the private rooms of the royals, then head outside for magnificent gardens complete with faux Roman ruins. Trinity College, Dublin, Ireland. This venerable institution in the centre of Dublin, founded by Elizabeth I in 1592, counts Samuel Beckett and Jonathan Swift among its alumni. See the magnificent 9th century manuscript The Book of Kells, visit Sweeney's Pharmacy, famed since its appearance in James Joyce's Ulysses, and marvel at the museum known to students as the Dead Zoo. Christiansborg Palace, Copenhagen, Denmark. On its own tiny island, Christiansborg Palace is the seat of Danish Parliament. Visitors can see the current palace's grand rooms on free guided tours, but don't forget to head underground to see the ruins of Absalon's castle dating from 1167. Buda Palace, Budapest, Hungary. Buda Castle was once the seat of Hungarian kings. It now houses the Hungarian National Gallery, the Budapest History Museum and the National Library. Once you've explored the museums, the surrounding Várnegyed or Castle Quarter is full of equally interesting medieval and Baroque churches, houses and public buildings. The church on the island, Bled, Slovenia. On a speck of land in the middle of teal-hued Lake Bled stands a church with one of the most picturesque outlooks in Europe. Evidence has been unearthed that suggests a settlement of some sort has existed on Bled Island since the 8th century BC. These days, the best way to reach it is to take a traditional Pletner boat, akin to a large gondola, across the lake. Rijksmuseum, Amsterdam, Netherlands. Anyone with even a passing interest in art will have heard of the masterpieces housed in the Rijksmuseum, Van Gogh's 1887 self-portrait, The Night Watch by Rembrandt, and The Milkmaid by Vermeer. The current museum was opened in 1885 and the collection consists of more than 1 million objects of art, craft and history. Hyde Park, London, England. When he wasn't beheading wives, Henry VIII used Hyde Park as his royal hunting ground. In 1637 it opened to the public, who, for better or worse, made it London's backyard. Now, it's a serene, green space where, when the temperature exceeds 18 degrees, Brits will sunbake to a rosy hue. Berlin Wall, Berlin, Germany. Several sections of the demarcation between former East and West Germany still stand around the city, but the must-visit site is the East Side Gallery, now the largest open-air art gallery in the world. The Tuileries Garden, Paris. Named for the tile industry that operated here, the Tuileries is between the Louvre and the Place de la Concorde. It was created for Catherine de' Medici in 1564 and enjoyed by a 9-year-old Louis XIII as his personal playground, complete with menagerie. It became a public park after the French Revolution, the place for flânery and people watching. Hagia Sophia, Istanbul, Turkey. Istanbul's most recognizable monument, the Hagia Sophia, began life as a Greek Orthodox cathedral in the 6th century before becoming an Ottoman mosque and finally a museum, in 1935. The Byzantine structure took 5 years and 10,000 workmen to construct. It's an architectural marvel, having stood through hundreds of earthquakes during its almost 1,500-year history. Hadrian's Wall, England. There it is, evidence of Britain's Roman past, lying in a field without protection. And why not? Hadrian's Wall stretches for 117 kilometers from coast to coast and has stood since AD 122. The defensive fortification built by the Emperor Hadrian now has a national trail footpath following its route from Wall's End to Bonas on Solway, and even inspired the wall in Game of Thrones. Guggenheim Bilbao, Spain. The whimsical Guggenheim building alone is reason enough for a visit to the northern Spanish city of Bilbao, let alone the treasures to be found inside. The curvy Frank Gehry design is considered an architectural feat, a worthy home, then, for works such as Jeff Koons' Tulips and Louise Bourgeois Mammon. The Pantheon, Rome, Italy. Completed sometime between AD 113 and 125 in the reign of Hadrian, the Pantheon is a former Roman temple now remarkably preserved church. Gaze up, like millions of others have over 2,000 years, at the dome's opening to the sky and try to fathom the passing of time. Hofbräuhaus, Munich, Germany. Microbreweries might be having a moment, but if you're going to drink a tankard in Germany, this is the place to do it. It's an institution. Not only has it played a key in the history of Germany politics and its beer brewing, it also has its own currency and theme tune that topped the charts in the 80s. Prost. Tate Modern, London, England. The privately owned Tate Modern serves as Britain's home of modern and contemporary art. Located in London's Southwark in the former Bankside Power Station, it was opened by the Queen in 2000. It now receives in excess of 5 million visitors a year to see its collection, which includes works by Picasso, Damien Hirst and Georgia O'Keeffe. Grand Bazaar, Istanbul, Turkey. A quintessential Istanbul experience, haggling for a carpet at the Grand Bazaar. Famed as one of the world's first shopping malls but bearing no resemblance to a Westfield, the covered market even once sold human slaves. It's made up of 61 streets and more than 4,000 shops and dates to 1,455. Do subscribe Travel and Taste channel and like videos. For further videos stay connected.